Stop scrolling right now because in the next 60 seconds, you are going to discover 3 words that can make someone think about you all the time. And it is much simpler than you ever thought. These are not cheesy lines used for dating. They are triggers for the human mind. Most people try to get attention with big actions, presents, or nice comments. However, it is the specific words you speak that quietly repeat in a person's head for hours. Once you understand these 3 words, you will notice the result immediately, acting like a mental magnet that draws attention without any hard work. If you want me to show you exactly what these 3 words are and how to use them at the right time, for the best result, click the like button, follow along, and stay until the very end. I promise it is worth your time. The first special word works because it connects directly to the deeper mind, starting emotional feelings without the listener even knowing it. It is not the word itself that holds the strength. It is the mental and emotional links that the brain creates around it. Think about how certain phrases can quickly take someone back to a memory, a specific feeling, or a strong want. They skip logic and go straight to how a person feels. When used the right way, this word acts like a seed placed in the mind, one that grows slowly over time every time it is thought of again. The secret is the situation. It must be used naturally in a talk, not pushed, so that the person listening does not feel like they are being tricked. When you say it with self-assurance in the right voice, it shows a sense of closeness and emotional depth, which the brain sees as important. This is why your timing and how you say it are so vital. If the word is used in a relaxed way, almost as a side thought, it creates curiosity and deep thinking. Your presence becomes tied to the feeling that the word brings up. Whether it is mystery, excitement, or a quiet sense of being close over time, every memory of that word starts the same brain paths, making your presence stronger in their thoughts. The listener starts to play back moments where the word was used, often without knowing why, mentally circling back to you and your time together. Being rare makes this effect stronger. If the word is not used often and is used on purpose, its power grows, creating a sense of waiting and mental focus. This word does not depend on praise, charm, or trying to convince anyone. It uses the natural way the human brain handles emotional signals and links. It basically sets up attention without forcing it, creating a type of pull that feels easy and natural. Quiet, confident repetition makes the link stronger, turning a casual word into a mental trigger. Every time the person thinks of that word, their mind automatically connects it to you, fixing your presence in their thoughts long after the talk is over. Learning this first word is about knowing how people think, timing, and emotional connection. It is the base for the other 2 words because it starts the first loop, the spark of interest and focus that gets everything else moving. Once this first trigger is grasped and used correctly, it creates a strong pull in the mind that makes someone think about you easily, making you a constant thought in their head. The second special word works by starting curiosity and the mind's natural need for an answer. This is where the real mental repeating begins. Unlike the first word, which creates an emotional anchor, this word starts a sense of mystery. It teases the brain in a way that needs attention. Human minds are built to notice missing information and look for an end. When something is suggested but not fully told, the brain keeps going back to it, trying to figure out the puzzle. This word is strong because it does not show the whole story. It gives just enough info to start a sense of wonder or a feeling of wanting to know what happens next. When said naturally with the right voice and timing, it puts a scene in the mind, and the listener begins picturing what could happen, making up stories where you are the main person. The great part is that the mind does all the work. You do not have to create interest yourself. You just start the spark. Every quiet repetition makes this mental loop stronger because each time the word is remembered, it starts the unfinished curiosity you have placed, which is actually fun for the brain to follow. Being rare makes the effect bigger. If the word is used only once in a while, it becomes more precious and the brain looks at it more closely. The situation is everything. The word must feel relaxed almost by accident so that the person does not feel managed, only interested. When mixed with body language, voice tone, and timing, it can make your time together feel very attractive. People start thinking about the talks, playing back the moment the word came up and trying to guess what it meant or suggested, which keeps you in their thoughts for a long time. This creates a mental loop where the listener is pulled back to you in their mind, picturing scenes or hearing your voice and seeing your face. Unlike usual ways of getting attention that rely on outside proof or effort, this works because it uses the natural way curiosity and problem-solving work in the human mind, turning it into a thought cycle that keeps itself going. Learning this second word is about being subtle and having good timing. Used the right way, it changes simple talks into deep mental marks, making someone go back to thoughts of you on their own without even knowing it, building a pull that feels easy but very strong. The third special word works as the emotional anchor, the last part that joins the other triggers together and makes sure your presence keeps playing in the mind again and again. While the first word creates an emotional spark and the second starts curiosity, this word connects you to a good internal feeling, a state the listener naturally wants to feel again. The brain remembers events not just for what happened, but for the feelings they brought. This word uses that rule. When spoken in the right way at the right time, it quietly links you with comfort, thrills, or a sense of mystery that feels good. This is why how you say it is everything. It must feel easy, natural, and sure because the emotional hit comes less from the word and more from how it is used while you are there. Being rare makes it work better. Used too much, the magic goes away, but used carefully in talks, it makes the link between you and that good emotional feeling stronger. Every time the person remembers the word, the brain automatically starts that emotion again, which then brings thoughts of you back into their mind. Over time, this creates a loop. The word starts the emotion starts the memory, and the memory starts the curiosity and focus, looping forever. The quiet smarts of this third word is that it does not ask for active attention. It works under the surface. The listener does not know that their mind has been set to visit you again. That makes the result much stronger than obvious tries to get attention. It changes short talks into long mental marks, making sure that you stay in their mind even when you are not there. Joined with the first two words, this anchor word finishes the group, creating a mental pull that is almost like a magnet. Once you know how to do this, it allows someone to think about you over and over without trying, putting you in thought patterns that feel totally natural and good. The magic is not in tricking people, but in lining up feelings, curiosity, and memory, so that your presence stays easily in their head, making you someone they cannot forget. The fourth step is not another word, but the way you mix the three magic words to create a smooth and strong mental loop. This is where the true power shows up. On their own, each word has its own result. The first starts an emotional connection, the second starts curiosity, and the third fixes a good feeling. But when mixed together naturally in a talk, they form a mental pattern that the mind cannot overlook. The secret is being subtle and having good timing. They cannot feel forced or practiced because the second someone feels they are being managed, the effect stops. Instead, these words must flow as if they are part of normal talk, used in the right spot with easy confidence, so the brain takes them in without fighting. When used in this way, the first word plants the seed, the second creates a mystery the mind wants to fix, and the third joins the mystery to a good emotional prize. This mix sets up a loop that keeps itself moving. Every memory of the first word starts curiosity. The second word pulls the mind deeper into thoughts, and the third makes sure those thoughts feel good, making the person want to play them again. Being rare and not predictable makes the effect stronger. Used not very often, the words become more noticeable, creating a sense of waiting and quiet attention towards you. The mind starts remembering parts of your time together without trying, often out of habit, rebuilding talks, and picturing what could be. This loop is hidden, easy, and quiet. It creates a presence that lasts beyond being physically close or talking directly. Unlike usual ways of seeking attention, this path does not need a lot of energy or convincing. It works quietly through the way people think, turning simple talk into a magnetic experience that the brain cannot stop playing back. When you learn this, the mix makes someone keep coming back to thoughts of you long after you have left, creating a mental pull that feels very natural and strong. The fourth step is the realization that magic is not in single words. It is in the mix of emotional sparks, curiosity, and good feelings, creating a cycle of focus and thought that loops forever, making sure you stay in someone's head easily. The fifth step looks at how you speak and your tone. Even the best words can fail if they are not said in a way that the mind likes and remembers. The brain does not just hear the words, it notices how they are spoken. The speed, the confidence, the quiet changes in voice, and the stops all show importance and emotional weight. When using the three magic words, the aim is to make them feel relaxed but important, as if they are part of a real talk rather than a plan tried to influence. This balance creates a feeling where things that seem easy are more quickly accepted and played back in the mind. The first word must be said with a calm certainty that quietly shows an emotional link. The second word should have a slightly playful or mysterious tone that starts curiosity. The third should be said with warmth to fix a good emotional state. Timing is very important. Saying the words too fast or too much makes them weak, while spacing them out lets the mind notice and process each word on its own. Your body language, looking them in the eye, and your face also help the result because they back up the quiet links your words are making. Even small movements, a tiny smile, or a mysterious voice can greatly help the brain accept these triggers. Being rare matters here too. If your way of speaking is special and on purpose, the person listening will quietly think those words are more important, making them easier to remember. By learning how to speak this way, the magic words stop being just talk. They become experiences that the brain joins to you each time the person remembers the words. It is not just the meaning that comes back, but the feeling and the curiosity held in the original voice. This makes sure that your presence is built up automatically, creating mental loops that repeat long after the talk ends. In short, how you speak is the silent helper of the three words. It changes them from simple words into a mental tool that puts you in thought, memory, and feeling, making the pull toward you very hard to resist. The sixth step is about where you use the words, which means knowing when and where to say these three magic words so they have the best quiet hit, because words by themselves do not create mental loops. The brain looks at timing, how it fits, and the emotional mood. The mind is always filtering things out, and if the words show up in a normal, rushed, or boring spot, their power goes away. The strength comes from putting the words in moments where the person is already feeling something or thinking hard, like during a story, a shared laugh, or a moment of mystery. When the first word is used at a point that joins an existing feeling, it sticks in the mind right away. The second word, tied to curiosity, works best when the brain is looking for answers, like during stops in a story, because the mind starts filling in the blanks and makes you the center of the story. The third word, which fixes a good feeling, should show up when the person is in a happy mood, making the link between you and that good feeling stronger. Putting the words in the right spot is also about the flow and the space between them. The words should never feel pushed or predictable. Not being predictable keeps the brain awake and interested, which helps it remember. Even the air around you, like your voice and a smile, helps the setting, giving quiet proof to the brain that this is important. Being rare mixed with smart placement makes the words feel special, creating a sense of waiting. Over time, the listener starts to play back not just the words, but the moments they happened in, linking you to experiences instead of just phrases. This creates a natural loop where you are remembered through the setting, feeling, and curiosity all at once. The smart part of choosing the right spot is that it makes the mind do the work. Instead of trying to force someone to look at you, you create moments where the brain chooses to loop back to you again and again, putting your influence quietly but strongly in their thoughts. When timed and placed right, these words become hidden anchors that turn short talks into long-lasting mental focus. The seventh step is quiet repetition, which is what changes single moments into lasting mental loops, because the brain makes things stronger when it sees them often, especially when tied to feelings and curiosity. The three magic words work best when they are heard more than once, but not in a way that is too obvious, because if the person notices the pattern, the magic might break. Instead, the repetition should feel like an accident and very natural, as if it just happens during the talk. Each time the first word is said, it starts the emotional link again, reminding them of the first spark. The second word, when said again at different times, makes curiosity deeper and fixes the mental puzzle, making the mind go back to imagined scenes. The third word makes the emotional anchor stronger, building the good link with you. The power of quiet repetition is that it works without the person knowing. The brain sees patterns before the thinking mind does, which is why seeing the words a few times in different ways creates a bigger result. Being rare is still the main rule. The words cannot show up all the time or they lose their power. But spaced out repetition helps the brain keep the memory and the want. Small changes in voice or timing keep the repetition feeling new, stopping it from sounding like a script. Over time, this repeated use teaches the mind to remember not just the words, but the feelings and mystery they bring, putting you into thought loops that start on their own. This creates a mental pull that goes on even when you are not there, as the listener thinks of moments and plays back talks. Repetition also builds a sense of knowing you without losing the mystery. Each quiet use makes the link between you and the mental experience stronger. Mastering this step makes sure your influence lasts. It turns short meetings into long-term quiet attention. When mixed with feeling and curiosity, quiet repetition makes the mind naturally loop back to you, creating a presence that is constant and strong. It is the final step that turns magic words into a mental magnet that keeps itself going. The eighth step is joining these words into natural talk, which is about making these three magic words a part of normal life, so their result is smooth and hidden. The real strength of the words is not just knowing what they are. It is putting them in a way that feels easy and real, because the mind reacts best to things that feel honest. If the words are said like a robot or in the wrong spot, the brain notices and the loop gets weaker. Joining them in means mixing the words with stories, jokes, or small thoughts so the person sees them as part of a normal flow. This step also involves how fast you talk. The words should show up when attention is high or feelings are strong. Over time, as you use the words in normal talk, they stop being just words to make someone think of you and start being mental anchors and curiosity starters without you even trying. Quiet signals like your voice and eye contact help this, making the experience deeper. Being rare and having good timing stay important. You do not fill up talks with the words, but you use them in ways that feel natural. As a result, the brain begins to loop these moments, thinking of talks and linking good feelings to you. This joining makes sure that the mental pull stays strong and hidden, making you a constant thought. This final step turns what you know into a skill, creating a natural influence that keeps you in their thoughts, making loops that stay alive and keep someone interested and wanting more forever. To truly master these techniques, you must understand that the human brain is designed to remember unfinished tasks and unresolved questions more than anything else. When you use these words, you are creating a mental open loop that the other person's subconscious feels compelled to close. This is why they find themselves thinking of you while they are driving, right before they fall asleep, or during quiet moments of their day. They aren't just thinking of you, they are trying to solve the pleasant mystery you planted in their mind. The shift from a simple conversation to a lasting mental presence happens when you stop trying to prove your value and start allowing their own imagination to build that value for you. The effectiveness of this strategy depends heavily on your ability to remain detached from the outcome. If you use these words while appearing needy or desperate for a reaction, the psychological weight shifts and the words lose their magnetic quality. True magnetism comes from the combination of high-impact language and a relaxed, take-it-or-leave-it attitude. When you speak with this type of quiet authority, the brain of the listener interprets your words as more significant and truthful. You are essentially using the same pathways that create nostalgia or earworms in music, where a short melody repeats endlessly because it is simple, catchy, and emotionally resonant. As you continue to practice the art of delivery, you will notice that your overall social intelligence increases. You will become more aware of the subtle shifts in people's body language and the emotional temperature of a room. This awareness allows you to time your words with surgical precision. The goal is to reach a level where you no longer have to think about the steps because they have become a natural part of how you connect with others. You are not just learning a trick, you are learning how to speak the language of the mind, which values intrigue and emotional safety over loud displays of ego. By the time you reach the end of this journey, you will realize that the most unforgettable people are those who leave behind a feeling rather than a list of facts about themselves. These three words are the tools that help you craft that feeling. They act as a bridge between a casual encounter and a deep-seated mental impression. As the loop continues to play in the other person's mind, their attraction and interest grow organically, fueled by their own thoughts and feelings. This is the most powerful form of influence because it is self-generated, making your presence in their life feel like a natural and necessary part of their internal world. As you move deeper into this mastery, you begin to see that the real secret lies in the space between the words. Silence is just as powerful as the triggers themselves because it gives the brain the necessary room to start the looping process. If you talk too much or explain yourself too clearly, you leave no gaps for the other person's mind to fill. By staying comfortable with brief pauses and leaving certain things unsaid, you force their subconscious to step in and complete the picture. This is the difference between being a person who provides information and being a person who provides an experience that lingers long after you have walked away. You must also recognize that these triggers work best when they align with the other person's existing desires and values. The mind does not loop things that it finds boring or irrelevant. It loops things that feel like they might lead to a reward, a discovery, or a deeper connection. When you use the third word to anchor a positive state, you are effectively teaching their brain that being around you is a source of dopamine. Over time, their mind will seek you out mentally just to get that small hit of internal satisfaction, creating a habit of thinking about you that becomes as natural as any other routine in their daily life. The final stage of this process is the transition from intentional technique to effortless character. Eventually, you will not be using words at all. You will simply be communicating in a way that respects the natural laws of human psychology. You will find that you are more relaxed in social settings because you no longer feel the need to perform. You know that the seeds you have planted are growing on their own. This inner peace actually makes the triggers even more effective, as your lack of trying is the ultimate signal of high value and mystery. People are naturally drawn to those who seem to have a secret map to the way emotions and thoughts work.